Welcome back to another episode of Life in London, a series where I take you along on just what life looks like living here in London as an American. In this series, we go through what it's like to be an immigrant in the United Kingdom, as well as just kind of more fun life things. So I personally love books and reading, and so London is an amazing city for that. I also love history and museums, so we do a lot of that on this channel. Along with that, I work full-time. I'm also writing a romantasy novel, and I'm training for my second marathon, which is the Valencia Marathon in December. And I basically am just taking you through in this series and showing how I'm balancing all those things, as well as kind of an honest look at what it's like to be living in the United Kingdom. I think so often we can romanticize moving to another country, no matter what the country is, and while I think there are things that are amazing about moving to another country, it's not all TikToks and highlight reels, and so I really want to kind of show both the good and the bad of moving here. In the first episode of this series, I went over how I moved to the United Kingdom and what that process looks like, and so I don't really want to go in depth again in this video, so I'll just link that video if you're curious. But basically, I am here on the partner visa because my partner is British, and we see ourselves building a life long term, probably in London, but definitely in the United Kingdom. My partner's actually not originally from London. He is from the Midlands, which is like a region of the United Kingdom between Manchester and Birmingham. I think Birmingham's technically also a part of the Midlands, but his family lives north of Birmingham, if that makes sense. And so living in London is a new adventure for us both. We moved here in May, so we've been here for a little bit, but it also feels like it's been no time at all. The pace of living in London is so quick, and I'm actually really, really enjoying that. Before we moved here, we were in the Midlands for a couple of months, and things there are just extremely slow. It's very cute, but I really felt like we were kind of lacking when it came to a social life and different activities to do there. Whereas in London, we definitely don't feel like we're lacking in any way. In previous vlogs on this channel, which you can go back and watch, I've documented different author signings I've gone to here, museums that I've gone to, and also many of the friends that I've made here. And so I personally just really love London because it is so busy, but at the same time, it's also such a beautiful city, and hopefully I can capture some of that beauty in the B-roll for today's video. But currently it is Thursday, it is a normal work day, and I shouldn't say normal work day because I'm actually going to co-work with a friend at a nearby coffee shop. So I actually don't have a traditional 9-to-5 job. I actually work for myself. I've been running my business now for 4 or 5 years, somewhere between there, and I love being able to run my own business. It's part of the reason why I was able to so easily move from the US to the UK without having to take a hit in income or find a new source of income. But it also can get quite lonely at times, especially because my partner works from the office a few days a week. When I moved to London, actually, the person I'm meeting up with today reached out to me on LinkedIn. Her business is super similar to mine. She's also from the Midwest in the United States. She also is dating a British person. Well, she's married to a British person, and they used to be digital nomads, which is what my partner and I used to do. So we are basically the exact same person. And so we've been hanging out since we've moved to London, and we co-work together every other week or so, which has just been a really nice way to feel less alone when you're working. So if anyone else works from home, whether you have a remote 9-to-5 or you are also self-employed, I highly recommend finding other people who are also working remotely that you can meet up with occasionally, whether that's virtually or in person, because it just makes it so much less lonely. I think that honestly, so I have a couple of friends here in London who I've been meeting up with to co-work, and it has probably been one of the highlights of my working year so far. And after the workday tonight, I have run club. There's a run club right in my neighborhood, which is really nice and convenient because we can walk there. And we run 8 kilometers every single week, and that's about 5 miles. Even though I grew up in the US and I did cross country in the US, so growing up, I was always using miles when it came to running. I have now converted to kilometers because it literally just makes so much more sense. One thing that I do think is really, really weird about the UK is that they actually use miles instead of kilometers, but then they use Celsius instead of Fahrenheit. The way that they mix the metric system, and I would call it the American system, but I feel like it has a different, more formal name. But the way that they mix the metric system and the American system it's choosing chaos, and I really am not a fan of it. Like, so many people here when I talk to them about running, and I'll say like, oh, I run this pace per kilometer. They'll be like, what's that in miles? And it always throws me off because I always thought only Americans used miles, but British people use miles as well. Happy Friday! So today is just your standard work from home day. I will probably go to the gym a little bit later today, and then tonight we're going out for my partner's birthday. We have a deal at like a chain here in London that we can get a free bottle of champagne if we order 2 entrees, so we're gonna do that for his birthday. I will say that is a really big tip about living in a big city. I think this probably applies to any big city, but honestly, so many places in the world right now with the cost of living crisis. Use coupons and deals whenever you can. I think a benefit of the big city is that there's so many more deals and coupons available in London than there would be in like a small town. And so we are always on the hunt for those, and we use them whenever possible. I guess you could say I'm on a coffee break from work right now, and so I thought it could be really fun to just go over a reflection of my first 6 months in the United Kingdom. We officially moved here in February and it is now August, so it's been 6 months of living in the UK, which is crazy. So I wrote down some things that I like about here, and then also some things that were a little bit of an adjustment. To be honest, before we moved here, I think I thought it was going to be a slightly easier adjustment than it was, because for the last 3 years or so, we were traveling as digital nomads. After visiting so many different countries, I can honestly say that the United Kingdom and the US are relatively similar in comparison to other countries in the world. And so I think I thought that the transition was going to be easier. I've also spent up to 6 months here the last 2 years or so, just kind of learning more about it. And there were still hurdles that I didn't necessarily see coming. So we'll start with the hurdles and then we'll go to the things that I really love about the United Kingdom. So the first thing that was a little bit difficult is work. So I set my own hours, but most of my clients are in the US. So I do like to be available during US hours. I don't know how much they actually expect me to be available versus how much I'm just kind of placing that pressure on myself. But US hours here last until 10 p.m. at night. So it's really hard to find time to fully shut down. I actually try on Friday nights to log off a little bit early because I am working evenings, Mondays through Thursdays. And so I'll try a lot of times to log off around 4 p.m. and like put my phone away, put my computer away, and read a little bit. That's like a really nice way to unplug, but it is extremely difficult to unplug here. When I first moved here, I thought I might get some like UK clients or maybe even a job, but the job market here is atrocious. Marketing, which is the field I work in, does not work the same here as it does in the US. And I also am like in a really highly regulated area of marketing because I do like healthcare and medical marketing. And so it's just been really hard to like transfer my skills over. I'm not even sure though if I was in like the job market or hunting for new clients in the US if I would have any luck either, because I think maybe just things are not going great economically everywhere, and marketing is always the first thing that gets cut. So I am very grateful that I have a business that I've already built up and clients that I really love working with, but those work hours can be kind of hard. Going off that, the financials of it is really confusing. I think just navigating any country's like tax system, finance system, opening up a bank account, all of that has been confusing, but honestly, I think it's gone probably pretty smoothly. It's just those are small things that you really don't think about when you think about moving to another country. You usually just think of the big things and the wonderful things. And the last thing that's been a struggle is making friends with actual British women. So I find it super easy to make friends with other Americans who live here, Europeans who live here, Canadians who live here. I have some like British guy friends, but I don't have a lot of British female friends, and whenever I try to talk to British women, they just seem a little bit shyer. I think British culture in general might be a little bit shyer than US culture, but I am an introvert, and so being somewhere where people are shyer is really hard for me. I took for granted living in the US, and also when I was a digital nomad, because a lot of digital nomads are extroverted, like just how much effort other people were putting into conversations. And I swear sometimes having conversations with people here is like pulling teeth, and it is so awkward, and that has been a little bit of a struggle. So now on to the things that I love. I think when Americans think about moving anywhere in Europe, the first things that come to mind for them is the walkability and having more space to actually live. It's kind of like that attitude of like working to live, not living to work. And that would be, in my opinion, a main critique I have of life in the United States, and one of the reasons why we decided to choose the United Kingdom over the US. And I can confirm the rumors are true. It is so much more walkable here. Even when we were living in a small town, we could walk to the grocery store, we could walk to the gym, which when I was living in a small town in the US, you could not do. You had to drive everywhere. And obviously living in London, we have access to super walkable neighborhoods and also great public transport. Being able to walk to the grocery store instead of driving to the grocery store, instant serotonin hit. I love it. My step count is off the charts. I feel super like mentally clear, very physically healthy. And that leads me to the second thing that I think has really improved since moving to the United Kingdom, and that is my mental health. I think this is a mixture of the United Kingdom really does a great job of making cities livable, making things super focused on community aspects. There's tons of communal spaces that you can go to, and I really love all of that. But I think it's also just the stability of like having an actual home. We have like an apartment that we've leased for 12 months because for the last 3 years I was traveling. I was almost going to like literally a different country every single month. And so that was just a lot of chaos. And so I'm not really sure if this is like a UK versus US comparison, but I have noticed that my anxiety levels have decreased since moving here. I feel happier. I'm more able to devote time to my hobbies. I have made more progress this year on my novels than I made any other year. I've started content creation again, and all of that was really, really hard for me for a really long time. And so something about the current environment I'm in is just really great for my own motivation and mental health. And then the third thing that I absolutely love is the history and culture here. Mary Queen of Scots and Queen Elizabeth I and like the Tudors was one of my first really big interests in history. So it's been really cool to be able to go places in England and Scotland that some of these powerful women lived or is somehow connected to these powerful women. And I love that element. I love learning about just the many, many centuries of British history, going to castles that are older than the country that I came from. The museums here are amazing, many of which are free, or you can do a lot of like different little like passes to get access to a lot. So like one that we've done before that's really great for the English countryside is called the National Trust membership. And then you get access to all the different National Trust sites, which are like old manor houses. The other one that we are currently doing is called the Art Fund Pass. It's slightly better for London, but you get access to a bunch of different museums. Most of them are art museums, but not all of them. So getting those little passes or using the free museums makes the history and culture here just amazingly accessible. I think we've been gabbing for quite a bit, and honestly, we need to get into work for the day. It's so hard to motivate myself on Fridays, I swear. But we're going to do work, and then you're going to hold me accountable for actually getting off at 4 p.m. and reading my book. So this is the very real aftermath of a long run, just sitting here in an oversized t-shirt, chilling, rotting, but we are going to go into the city today. I think that's something that's really been a challenge and a blessing living in London so far, is kind of balancing wanting to go into the city and do it all, but then also like wanting to be chill. So I had a super chill Saturday. I basically just spent it at home writing most of the day. And today we are going to go into the city because we have some fun things planned, and I'm excited to take you all along with us for them. So then I did end up getting dressed slightly nicer, and we went and walked around the Kensington area and ended up at this art museum called Leighton House, and we really enjoyed just walking around it. It was on the smaller side, but it was really done up nicely and had a lot of great Victorian era art pieces. After that, I actually surprised my partner for his birthday, and we went to a 1946 tube-themed speakeasy. If you're visiting London or you're in London, I highly recommend stopping by here. I even got a drink in the shape of Winston Churchill. That basically concluded our weekend. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have any questions about anything I've covered in this video, let me know, and I will see you soon for another vlog.